Okay, so good morning everyone. Let us start with BVLSI lecture number 3A. So we'll start today with energy band diagram, its basics and some of the terminology. And we will draw the energy band diagram for metals, insulators and semiconductors finally. So let us start. Okay, so for metals, if we wish to draw the energy band diagram, we have first of all we have a reference which is a vacuum space or free energy level space or free space level, and we have a Fermi level, okay, EFM, E naught and EFM. And in a metal we don't have either a conduction band or a valence band. We have only Fermi level. Basically they are overlap with each other, conduction band and valence band, because metals only contain electrons, okay. And Fermi level also means that it's an average energy of electrons. Now this distance between E naught and EFM is called as work function difference for metal, or it is also called as your electron affinity. Yeah, so let us start. So we have over here this distance q into phi fm. So what is that? Q into phi fm is the metal work function energy, whereas phi fm is the metal work function potential. So what is this q into phi fm? It is the minimum energy required to move an electron from Fermi level to free space or vacuum level. Okay, so this is the energy band diagram for a metal. Now let's go into the energy band diagram for insulator. I hope this is, let me just reduce it slightly. Yeah, so this is my energy band diagram for an insulator. As you can see, insulator may we have a conduction band and we have a valence band, but the distance between the conduction band and the valence band is too much, the energy difference. So the band gap energy, which is represented by Eg, its value is greater than 8 electron volt for an insulator. Okay, so the energy band gap is the largest in case of insulators. And over here we have E naught, also reference vacuum level, and EC. Now the difference between E naught and EC is termed as your electron affinity, that is psi OX. Okay, so what is electron affinity? Electron affinity is the minimum energy required to move an electron from the conduction band to the free space or vacuum level. So indirectly we can say that the electron has come out of that material. So E naught minus EC is equal to Q into psi OX, which is the electron affinity for SiO2, that is insulator. Okay. Now let us go into the intrinsic semiconductor energy band diagram. So intrinsic semiconductor, as it is discussed earlier, that in an intrinsic semiconductor, electron and the hole concentration is the same. Okay. And we also have a vacuum energy level over here, E naught, correct? And we have a band, conduction band and a valence band. Okay, so as you can see, if I can expand it a little more, the number of electrons which are found over here, mobile electrons in the conduction band, it is near the bottom edge. Okay, and here in case of valence band, the number of holes, the mobile holes which are found are near the top of the valence band. Okay, so for simplicity and the distance between the conduction and the valence band, no doubt it's a energy band gap. Okay, so EC minus EV will be EG, and EI is the intrinsic Fermi level. It is located in the midway between EC and EF. EC and EV, that is the conduction band and the valence band. Okay, so it is for the easy reference. It is located in the. It is also a reference energy level for analysis. Now, there are two contrasting things which I want to highlight over here. See, this was the detailed energy band diagram. Okay, so for simplicity, since we know that the electrons are most often found in the bottom of the conduction band and the holes are most often found, the probability is more in the top of the valence band, we just, instead of drawing a band, we only draw a line over here. Okay, so that means in this line we have a confinement of all the electrons in the conduction band, and here in the valence band we have confinement of all the holes in the valence band. So from now on we will be drawing the energy band diagram like this. Instead of bands, we will be just drawing it in the form of a line. So intrinsic semiconductor, right? So your EI is in the midway between EC and EV, and your EG for silicon, it's around 1.12 electron volt. Last time we have seen that. Okay. Now, as we have electron affinity for insulator, we have electron affinity for semiconductor also. So if it is an intrinsic semiconductor, the electron affinity, that is Q psi s, is around 4.15 electron volt. Okay. So I have already explained it is the minimum energy required to move an electron from conduction band to free space or vacuum level. Okay. So these were all the basics for the, let me just reduce this size a little. Okay. So we have seen now the energy band diagram for metal. How does it look at for insulator and intrinsic semiconductor? Now let us go and refer it for the energy band diagram for a extrinsic semiconductor, because those are the semiconductor materials which we are going to use, that is P silicon or N silicon. Okay. So before drawing the energy band diagram for extrinsic semiconductor, we have certain assumptions. So the number one assumption is the N-type or the P-type semiconductor doping is uniform. Okay. So if you have a N-type silicon material, its doping, if you see over here, if you see any point in this, in this box, the doping will be uniform. It will be uniform. Okay. Anywhere if you measure it, and the semiconductor is in thermal equilibrium. Okay. So these are the two assumptions which we are assuming in drawing the energy band diagram for a N-type silicon. Okay. So let us start. So first we'll see the energy band diagram for a N-type silicon, where number of electrons are more as compared to number of holes. We first start with drawing E naught. Okay. With a distance of energy difference of Q into psi s, which is around 4.15 electron volt, we draw EC, which is almost a flat line, and then we draw EV, the valence band, with an energy band gap of 1.1 electron volt, and in the middle we have EI. Okay, the intrinsic Fermi level is always in the middle of EC and EV. Okay, now we have a Fermi level, a quasi-Fermi level, which is indicating that it is an N-type material, and this Fermi level EFN will be closer to the conduction band. So whenever this Fermi level EFN is closer to the conduction band, it indicates this energy band diagram is of N-type material, N-type silicon. And if you see over here for a P-type material, we have EFP. This is quasi-Fermi level, which is closer to EV, closer to the valence band. And whenever this quasi-Fermi level EFP is closer to the valence band, the material is more of a P-type silicon. Okay. So it depends upon the location of the Fermi level. EFN, in case of your, we are calling it EFN suffix N, indicating it's for a N-type silicon, and here it is EFP indicating for a P-type silicon material. Okay. So just remember that EFN, it is, if it is closer Fermi level, if it is closer to the conduction band, it's a N-type silicon, and if the Fermi level is closer to the valence band, it is a P-type silicon. Okay. Now let us go a little more details. So as you can see, the increasing energies upward is the electronic energy. Okay. So it's an energy band diagram. Correct. Now we have certain parameters over here. EG, we already know it's energy band gap. Q into psi s, we already know it's electron affinity energy. Q into phi Wn. Now it is the work function potential for N-type semiconductor. We remember in the last lecture we have talked about work function potential. Okay. So over here, similarly for a P-type silicon, the work function potential is Q into phi Wp. Okay, work function potential for P-type silicon. As you can see, they are different over here. So for N-type silicon, we have Q into phi Wn, and for P-type silicon, we have Q into phi Wp. They are different. And there is one more quantity, Q into phi Fn. Now this is the Fermi potential. This term phi Fn is called as the Fermi potential. Okay. So here Q into phi Fn, if phi Fn is the Fermi potential, Q into phi Fn is the Fermi potential energy for N-type silicon. It is the difference between EFN and EI. Similarly over here, the difference between EI and EFP is called as Fermi potential for P-type silicon, that is phi Fp. Now if you multiply that by Q, it becomes Q into phi Fn, phi Fp, That is called as Fermi potential energy for p-type silicon. Okay, so these are the four quantities which you have to take care. Q into psi s, Q into phi w, either it is n or p, e.g. energy band gap, and Q into phi f n or p for n-type silicon and for p-type silicon. I hope that these points are clear. Okay, now we go into little bit of more details. So let us calculate, let me slightly increase it. Okay, I have to put a number over here. Let me adjust this. Let me make it 35 or something. Yeah. So let us calculate. Let us see the formula for this Fermi potential. We have just now, seen that what is the Fermi potential. It's actually the energy difference between EI and EFN. So Fermi potential EFP is given by the formula. Kindly note this down in your notebooks. So EFP is given by kT by Q, natural log of Ni upon Na. Please note this down. I repeat, EFP is given, we don't have the derivation for this. You have to directly note down the formula. So the Fermi potential formula is EFP is equal to kT by Q, natural log of Ni upon Na. What is Ni? Ni is the intrinsic carrier concentration. Na is the acceptor number of acceptor atoms per centimeter cube, and its unit is volt. Similarly, phi Fn, Fermi potential for n-type silicon is kT by Q, natural log of Nd upon Ni. So please note down these formulas. Okay. So Q into phi Fp or Q into phi Fn is called as Fermi potential energy. We have seen that. Now let us determine this factor, this constant value kT by Q. So we know K is the Boltzmann's constant, which is 1.38 into 10 raised to minus 23 joules per Kelvin. T is the temperature and Q is the charge, which is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 joules. Okay. So over here we are left out with, if you simplify this, if you put in the calculator, you will get an answer as T divided by 11,600. Now, if you consider the room temperature, that is T is in Kelvin, right? Temperature. So room temperature is around 27 degrees Celsius. In Kelvin, it is 300 degree Kelvin. Okay. So kT by Q, 300 divided by 11,600 will be approximately equal to, please check this, someone please check this in your calculator and type your response in your chat, whether you are getting this number or no. 0.025686. Someone please check and type in the meeting chat whether how much your value you are getting. Never believe any value which is written over here. You yourself check in a calculator. So is it coming out to be this number similar to this? Please type in a meeting chat. So kT by Q at room temperature, that is 300 degree Kelvin or 27 degrees Celsius, will be 26 millivolt. Okay, I am getting the responses. Yes, yes. So good. So you are getting the same number. You are getting the same number. We are approximating it to 26 millivolt. From now on, whenever you see this kT by Q, and if the room temperature is mentioned or no temperature is mentioned, you have to consider it to be 26 millivolt. Okay. So if they mention the temperature, you have to calculate kT by Q with this formula, T divided by 11,600. So you have to note it down. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Same exact exact value is 0.25875. Okay, fine. You can get different numbers, but more or less it's the so near to this value. So you can consider approximately equal to 26 millivolt. Okay. So the first numerical for the day is coming up. So numerical number 1. Be ready with your calculators and a paper. So for a p-type silicon, acceptor doping concentration is 10 raised to 16 per centimeter cube. Calculate the Fermi potential. So what they are giving? They are giving the value of Na, and you are supposed to find phi Fp. Now we just now have seen what is kT by Q. Now Ni I gave you last time. The constant value was given last time. Now come on, find this value out. Please find this value fast. I'll give you around 30 seconds. Please type your answers in the meeting chat. always have a habit of writing it. Don't directly substitute in a calculator, write it once and then you substitute. Phi FP value, what's the value? It will be 26 millivolt into natural log of 1.45 into 10 raised to 10 divided by 10 raised to 16. Yeah, so the value which you are getting is over here. Yeah, correct. Minus 0.35, correct. So let me just use the, so I guess you all are getting the value which is this, minus 0.3495 volts. Okay, I'm suppose this is the value which you are getting, correct? Very good, very good. So all are in the right track. So on the similar lines, we have numerical number 2. Numerical number 2 says, and it's a minus sign also, right? So numerical number 2 says for n-type silicon, donor doping concentration is 10 raised to 16 per centimeter cube. Calculate the Fermi potential. So right now, remember if it is n-type silicon, they are giving the value of donor doping concentration, ND. So what is the phi FP formula? Sorry, it is phi Fn actually. Sorry, I by mistake written over here phi Fp. It is phi Fn. So what is the formula for phi Fn? KT by Q log of natural log of Nd upon Ni. Okay, so just pardon for this small error. Phi F, it is phi Fn. So what is phi Fn? KT by Q natural log of Nd upon Ni. Please calculate this number. What is the number which you are getting? It will be Nd upon Ni. Ni value we already know. So just type the value in the meeting chat. Yes, you are getting the same number, but you are getting it positive value, correct? 0.3495 volts. Okay, so this is your phi Fn. This is your phi Fn. I have written it incorrectly, phi Fp. Yeah, correct, correct. 0. You are getting, all of you are getting the number 0.3495. Good, very good. Okay. So we can approximate this as 0.35 and this as plus 0.35, correct? Now, I want you all to refer, yeah, correct, correct, very good. So I want you all now to pay attention over here. We are calculating the work function difference. So you remember PN junction? How is PN junction formed? Bringing P side material and N side material and join them together. It's very simple, right? But what happens to the energy band diagrams? These two materials have different work function, right? So let's calculate the work function for N-type material and let's calculate the work function for P-type material. For phi FW, phi WP, what is phi WP? It is psi S plus Eg by 2, correct? So this much is Eg by 2 and plus phi FP. Okay, again I repeat, what is the work function potential? Phi WP, it's psi S. We are just calculating only the potential. That's why we are writing it over here like this. Okay, we are dividing by entire thing by cube. So over here we are writing psi S plus Eg by 2 because this Ei is in the middle. So this much value is your Eg by 2 plus phi F P. Just now we calculated phi Fp, right? And Eg is 1.12 volt. Eg is 1.12 electron volt, but here we are only calculating the potential. That's where we are writing 1.12 volt. So 4.15 plus 1.12, this is value is given, right? 1.12 we already know, Eg, the band gap. And this we have just now calculated, 0.35, okay? So what is the work function potential? Is it coming out to be 5.06? Yes, I guess so, it is 5.06. Similarly, how do you calculate phi Wn? Yeah, I got the response. So phi Wn, how do you calculate phi Wn? This psi S, correct, plus Eg by 2, correct, this value, minus, just a second, minus phi Fn. Well, why minus? Because we are considering Eg by 2 over here, so this much. but it is only this much value, right? So we have to subtract this phi f n over here, magnitude of it. Okay, so what's the number which you are getting? 4.15 plus 1.12 into half. Why half? Because it is half over here. We are this is the half energy only. Okay, and here we have actually it's a potential we are calculating, and minus 0.35. So this number is coming out to be 4.36. Yes or no? Just type in a meeting chat. So phi Wn, which is the work function potential for an n-type silicon, it's 4.36. Okay. So that means what? Even before joining the n-type and the p-type material together, their work function is different. Here the work function is 5.06 and here the work function is 4.36 for this doping level, 10⁻16 doping level. Okay, fine. So what is the takeaway from here? So whenever, that means what? P-type material and n-type material have different work function. So the takeaway is, when two materials of different work function are joined together, there exists a potential difference at the point of contact. So the moment you form a p-n junction, the work function difference will be phi Wp minus phi Wn, which is 5.06 minus 4.36. And if you subtract this, you will get a 0.7. Remember 0.7? Is it? Do you remember something about 0.7? Yes, this contact potential is occurring due to the work function difference between the n-type and the p-type silicon. Okay, you remember whenever we have a p-n junction formed together, automatically there is a built-in potential formed. This built-in potential is the result of this work function difference. I hope that this is making some sense now. Okay, now fine with this 0.7, all of you all got? And did you understand the concept? Just write yes. How we got 0.7, which is due to the work function difference between n and p-type silicon. Okay, yeah, okay, fine, thank you. Now we have one last. So over here, that's what I was talking about. P-n junction diode, n and p-type material joined together. Automatically we have a depletion region formed and we have a barrier junction or a contact potential already formed. Okay, so this barrier potential is given by phi fn minus phi fp, which is equal to, we have to just subtract the natural log, and the formula will be, I'm not going into detail, it will be kT by q ln natural log of NaNd divided by Ni square, which is in volts. Okay, so let's check this with this formula. So what you need to do is NaNd, you substitute 10⁻16 for a p-n junction diode, find a barrier potential. Okay, so if the doping at the p side and the n side is 10⁻16, what is the barrier potential? So just substitute in this formula and tell me the answer. Fast, quick. So tell me the answer for phi naught. So the formula is given over here. KT by Q natural log of NaNd divided by Ni square. Remember last lecture I have given you the value of Ni square also, and KT by Q is 26 millivolt. Yes, you all are giving me the answers as, yeah. So the answers which I am receiving is 0.6999 volt. I mean, correct? Yes. Can anyone relate why this answer is coming? Is the same answer 0.7 volts, right? Is the same answer which we got here also, 0.7. So indeed, that whenever we have a p-n junction form, we have to overcome a barrier potential, right? We have to apply externally some voltage so that the diode conducts. So unless you apply external voltage so that the diode conducts, that is called as a barrier potential. And that is directly proportional to the doping level at the p side and the n side material. I hope that this point is clear, and the answer which you are getting is 0.7 volts. Now, I think this is clear. So we have a last concept from this slide. So let us continue. This is the n-type silicon energy band diagram. I have redrawn it again. Okay. So imagine what will happen if we apply a potential in the p-type silicon. So you have a p-type silicon over here. You have applied an external potential, a battery potential difference. So what will happen over here on the A and B? I have marked here A and B. B side potential is greater than the A side potential by V, right? So if I have to draw the potential, so at the B side I have a higher potential and at A side I have a lower potential, correct? So this is the slant line showing that the B part of N-type silicon material is at a higher potential compared to A side. Now, what did we learn? Whenever we apply a voltage, we have an electric field, correct? Now, what's the electric field formula? What is electric field given by? Gradient of potential. So it is given by minus dV by dx. It is a function of distance, right? Correct. So what will happen? If my potential at B is greater than at potential at A, my electric field will be directed. What will be my dV by dx if I want to check the slope of this? dV by dx is this, right? On the from left to right. So what will be the electric field directed? Electric field will be directed in the opposite direction given by this formula. I hope that you all are following. The slope of this slant line is dV by dx and the electric field will be in the opposite direction. So electric field will be directed from right to left over here. Okay. So whenever we apply a potential over here, all the bands are getting affected. Okay. So they are moving opposite to as they are moving at the see potential, it's rising like this. So the electric field, if it is an internal electric field present, it will be moving like this. Okay. So let's see how. So electric field is given by d by dx of V. So V is a potential, right? But here is in the energy band diagram. So how you convert it voltage to energy, how you convert the energy into potential? You divide by Q, correct? So the potential is converted into energy by this. Okay. So in this energy band diagram, let's consider your EC, conduction band energy level. Okay. So conduction band energy level, if I want to convert into a potential, I have to divide by charge, and this charge is a negative charge because it's an electron. So d by dx of EC by minus Q. So what you will get? E is given by 1 upon Q dEC by dx. Okay. So this is the way the energy bands will be slanted upwards like this, given by this formula. 1 by Q times dEC by EX. And normally EC, EI and EV goes in parallel. I mean, if EC changes, EI also changes, EV also changes along with it, along with E naught. Okay. So whenever we apply a potential difference between in an N-type silicon, all the bands are getting slant like this. And this difference over here, EC, this bending of the band, this is Q into V, which is the applied potential. And this bending in the bands indicate there is a presence of electric field. And this is the electric field, which is the result of your potential. Okay. So this is all which I have to offer. Now, if you want to see why this is in equilibrium, this energy band diagram is in equilibrium because I can see no change in the energy band of EC, conduction band. So dEC by dx is 0. If this is 0, that means there is no electric field present. Okay. No internal electric field present. So whenever there is a slight bending in the band, that indicates the presence of electric field. And we have already known 1 electron volt is 1.6 into 10 to minus 10 joules, minus 19 joules. Okay. So we have completed all the contents of this PDF. We have started with the energy band diagram of a metal, insulator and semiconductor, and we have seen the concept of a work function potential. We have solved 3 numericals, and we have also seen what will happen to the energy band diagram if a potential is applied externally, and how will the internal electric field will be affecting the energy band diagram. Okay, so quickly take a biological break of half a second. Close your eyes for 30 seconds. And then we'll begin with the new PDF 3B. If you have anyone has any doubt, can raise your hands or type in the meeting chat. I can respond to that. But just close your eyes for 30 seconds. We'll start in few seconds. Just give your eyes some rest. Okay. Okay, so we are back over here. Now let me close this and let me open a new PDF. I have to use two PDFs of the same kind. There is a reason why I'm doing this. So let me keep one side open. Okay, and other side also I have to explain simultaneously. Okay, fine. Let me begin. Okay, so in these topics in the next 20 minutes, we will be discussing energy band diagram of an isolated MOS capacitor. Now we have seen individually what's the energy band diagram for a metal, oxide and semiconductor. And in today's 3B topics, lecture number 3B topics, we will be completing energy band diagram of an ideal MOS capacitor and a MOS device and flat band voltage, concept of the flat band voltage. Okay, so let us start. So let's say you have a metal, oxide and a semiconductor and you're drawing the energy band diagram of an isolated MOS capacitor or a MOS device. So let's say you have aluminum metal, oxide as a semiconductor. Let me just little bit adjust the diagram. 45 I guess will do. Yeah. So this is the energy band diagram of an isolated MOS capacitor. Okay. So let us start. So at the metal side, we already know that, yeah, just a minute. Yeah, at the metal is aluminum, oxide is SiO2 and semiconductor is P-type silicon. So we have a P-type substrate material. Okay. So let us start with metal. In metal, below the Fermi energy level, EFM, and the energy levels will be filled with electrons. All energy levels would be filled with electrons, and above EF, there will be plenty of vacant states. Okay, so this is the reason due to which when we apply a potential difference across a metal, there will be a very little resistance to the electric current conduction. Okay, so this is the energy band diagram, EFM. Okay, I am yet to cover the E naught part. Just listen. In case of an insulator SiO2, it's an insulator. So difference between EC and EV is very large, and the value for SiO2 is 8.9 electron volt. It's a very high energy band gap. Now, since metal and oxide are different materials, see, metal is made up of aluminum and oxide is made up of SiO2. They are different material, right? We wouldn't know where is EFM with respect to EC. Okay, so we don't know where is this EFM with respect to EC, that is the conduction band in the oxide layer. So what do? We need to find a common energy level between both of them. So between metal and oxide. So hence comes the concept of your vacuum energy level E naught. Okay, so if you have a material, now just listen, if you have a material and if there are electrons inside them, then if we give some energy where electrons can come out of the material itself, that means it no longer belongs to the material. That electron which barely came out of the material is at E naught. Okay, so E naught is nothing but your reference energy level. So both electron out of the metal and the oxide are at the same vacuum energy level E naught. So E naught is taken as a reference energy level. I hope that this point is clear. Okay, so E naught minus EFM is also called as Q into phi WM or phi FM, which is the work function potential for metal. Okay, and in case of an insulator, there is no Fermi level. There is no Fermi level because there are no electrons inside the oxide. So you don't draw any Fermi level in case of an insulator. Okay, so because there are no free electrons inside the oxide layer. And what about the electron affinity? Yeah, E naught minus EC is Q into psi OX in oxide layer, which is the electron affinity. Okay, now let's start with the semiconductor. So for a semiconductor, we have the conduction band, we have the intrinsic Fermi level, we have EFP and we have E naught and EV also. And we know that this Q into psi S is my electron affinity for P-type silicon. Okay, so E naught minus EC is Q into, let me just bring that point over here also. Yeah, you can refer on the right hand side, I am describing that. So E naught minus EC is Q into psi S, which is the electron affinity in the p-type silicon. Then we have E naught minus EFP, which is Q into phi WP, which is the work function for p-type silicon. Correct? We have already seen this before. Here the EFP Fermi level is closer to the, it is a p-type silicon, so it's closer to the valence band. And we have EC minus EV, which is EG only, band gap energy. And EI minus EFP is my Q into phi FP, which is the Fermi potential for p-type silicon. Okay. Now, anyone can tell me what is the total formula for Q into phi FP? So Q into phi WP, sorry, Q into phi WP, can we say that it is Q into psi S plus EG by 2 plus Q into phi FP? That's what we have written over here. Okay, and that's what we have used in the last time the formula. I hope that this energy band diagram for the isolated MOS cap is clear. I'll just keep it for 5 seconds so that if anyone has a doubt can raise your hands, or else I'll proceed. Okay, I guess there are no doubts. I'll proceed. Now we will draw the energy band diagram of a MOS capacitor when all of the elements are joined together. Okay, whenever your metal, oxide and a semiconductor are joined together, we will try to draw the energy band diagram. So there are certain assumptions for an ideal MOS capacitor. Now when it is an ideal MOS capacitor? Whenever phi Fm is equal to phi Wm is equal to phi Wp. That is the work function of a metal and a semiconductor when they are same. This is one of the assumptions. Then the second assumption is oxide has no charges inside. So in the oxide layer also there might be charges which get trapped during manufacturing. So for an ideal MOS cap, we are assuming that oxide has no charges inside. Now, third point is oxide is a very good insulator. Okay, so that means there cannot be any current flow through the oxide. That means it has infinite resistivity, oxide layer. Now, also one more thing is ideal MOS cap, one more assumption is no surface states at Si-SiO2 interface. So whenever we join them together, we have a Si-SiO2 interface, so there are no surface states present. Now, I will be talking about surface states a little later. It's a slightly complex topic and it will little bit be beyond this lecture contents. But we are assuming, I'll come back to this point some other time later. But right now we are assuming there are no surface states at the Si-SiO2 interface. So with these assumptions, we are going to draw the energy band diagram for a ideal MOS capacitor. Okay. So when we join all of them together, this is how the energy band diagram looks like. Okay. Let me expand it a little. Yeah, metal, oxide and semiconductor. So first we draw the reference energy level E naught. Okay, and then we have to draw EFM and EFP aligned. This was the first condition. Your phi Wm and phi Wp will be same. So over here you can see Q into phi Wm and Q into phi Wt are on the same level. There is no energy level in the oxide, remember that. Okay. And for the oxide, I mean this we have already seen, rest all is same. So you start with E naught, you start by drawing EFM and EFP. Then you know from EFP, closer to EFP we have EV, then EI you draw, then EI is in the midway of EC and EV, so you draw EC next. Okay, and then you then you denote the various levels, energy levels, and work function potential, Fermi potential, electron affinity, energy band gap, all those things you can mark. Okay. So this is the energy band diagram when a MOS capacitor is combined together. Ideal MOS capacitor basically. Okay. So here we have Q into phi Fp, which is the Fermi potential, which is given by the formula Ni upon Na. Basically, Fermi potential tells us how much is the doping concentration of the semiconductor underlying the oxide. So how much is the doping concentration of the semiconductor beneath the oxide layer? Okay. So can we say that the ideal MOS capacitor is in equilibrium? What do you mean by equilibrium? There is no transfer of any charge. Okay, so there is no transfer of charge. So even if you, that means even if you short circuit your ideal MOS capacitor, so even if you short circuit, if you have two terminals, right, gate and the substrate, so even if you short circuit them together, nothing is going to happen, since metal and the semiconductor are at same potential. EFM and EFP are at the same energy level. Okay, so anyone has any doubts over so far? Anyone? Okay, okay. So there is only 1 minute left. So what I will do next is, in the next lecture, what we will do is, we will consider not a ideal MOSFET, we will consider a little bit of a, let's say, a practical MOSFET, which having phi FW, phi WM and phi WP are not same. Okay, so we'll see this is isolated MOSFET, right, where phi WP and phi WN are not same, as you can see over here very clearly. Now, what will happen when you combine energy band diagram for a when you draw the energy band diagram for a combined MOS capacitor with phi WM not equal to phi WP. That means metal and semiconductor are not at the same work function potential. They are having different work function potential. Okay, and this is normally the situation because the material of the metal and the material of the semiconductor are different. So there is going to be difference in their work function potential. So next class, we will try to understand why there is an automatic bending of bands like this. Okay, so that's the topic of the next class. Now I will devote 1 or 2 minutes for the questions. Let me just stop with the screen sharing. Okay, and the recording also. So that's it for today's session. I will give 2-3 minutes for question answers.